Welcome, folks, to the DFREE 2026 webinar series. You will be inspired and informed by this first segment. This is the first webinar for DFREE for this 2026. We spent the month of January on our 26 tips, Jumpstart 26. These were daily tips to get ready for 2026. If you missed those, you can go to our social media, DFREE Movement on Instagram or DB Soaries on Instagram and other social platforms. And so we are now ready to start our year-long webinar series. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you know that we started doing weekly series way back during the pandemic. And we had Ask the Expert. Prior to that, we had the In the Black podcast series. And then last year we had Ask the Advisor with our partner at Prudential. So this year, our weekly series is being called the Wealth Lab. Now, you know that a lab is a place of discovery. And once that discovery occurs, you can use what you've discovered to execute a strategy to solve some particular problem or to engage in some particular activity. This lab is around wealth. We want our community, we want our followers, we want our friends and family to be thinking wealth. We start with getting out of debt, but we talk about investing, we talk about saving, we talk about reducing debt. So the Wealth Lab is our platform for 2026. And once a month, at our Wealth Lab, we will have our friends from Prudential, and starting today, and discuss topics that will allow you to ask questions from a licensed professional advisor. So that's where we are. That's where you are. Want you to like it, share it, talk about it, ask us questions. And most importantly, when you learn something new, take action, execute. Don't just be inspired and informed. Take action. So today on our first Wealth Lab, we're going to ask our professional advisor from our partner at Prudential some very important questions pursuant to this topic, how to get our financial houses in order. And no one could do this better than our guest today, Rosalyn Glenn, who is a financial planner at Prudential. And by the way, she is the national treasurer of our largest organizational partner at DFREE, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Roz, welcome. Happy New Year. Glad to see you.
Hello there, Dr. Soaries. Always glad to be here with DFREE and support the work that you do, that I do personally every day. And certainly glad to be here in my capacity as an advisor for Prudential. And since you mentioned it, I am the proud treasurer, national treasurer of my beloved Delta Sigma Theta. So great to be here with you all today. Excited about the topic, excited about the work of DFREE. And looking forward to this conversation. Now, I have a whole presentation that I've prepared, but I am looking forward to this conversation. And as we are talking, I am going to go ahead and pull up the presentation. But again, let's just have a conversation. And I really like the idea of the Wealth Lab. Because we do work in the lab, right? And so
Right.
I'm hoping you're coming here to gather the information and then prepare yourself to do the work in order to build the wealth, to leave the legacy for your children's children. We're working on 2 generations past us to leave our wealth to. So excited about the conversation today.
So important. Now, there are some disclaimers, folks. Ross is not here to sell products, even though she could sell products, but she's not here for that. So, Ross, explain your role and the role that Prudential plays in these kinds of settings, and then we'll get to the content.
Wonderful. So really excited to be able to be here in the capacity as an educator. Prudential, through our Blueprints to Black Wealth strategy, enjoys our partnership with DFREE to provide education We believe that applied knowledge is power. And so we partner with DFREE to be able to offer high level information. So I am not giving you tax advice. I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to be talking very high level. I am going to encourage you to work with a financial advisor to have a more in-depth conversation about your particular situation, and so that you can get the information that is specific to you. But today, this is very high level. Is your financial house in order? What we believe everybody needs to have as a part of a comprehensive financial plan. And we're just going to kind of talk in general about those things overall.
Yeah, Roz, thanks for saying that, because often when people come to presentations like this, they really come for very specific reasons. And what I want everyone to understand is that before you go any further, if you really need to talk to someone because you're in financial stress, financial crisis, if you have a financial emergency, you need to let us know now. Don't even wait till the end of the presentation. Just go to dfree.com, get help, and we'll connect you with someone who can help you with your emergency. It could be foreclosure, student loan default, car repossession, whatever it is. But on the other side, you may also have inherited some money or gotten some kind of insurance award, and you want to talk to a financial professional. It could be Roz, it could be one of her peers. Go to dfree.com/get help. We will connect you with someone to address your specific situation. This is education. And because it's education, Roz, you've divided, I think, a wonderful menu of topics that constitute what it means to have a confident financial future. So tell us what we're going to talk about today. What are the topics you're going to cover today?
So, Dr. Soaries, we're going to talk about a couple of things. As I mentioned, there are certain things that we believe everybody needs to have in order to have a comprehensive financial plan, starting with getting organized. So we're going to kind of talk about how you can organize your financial paperwork. I'm certainly going to discuss the budget. I know when we say budgets, people don't like to talk about budgets, but you have to give your money an assignment and tell your money what you want it to do for you. And so we're going to talk about creating a budget, managing debt, the importance of building an emergency fund, certainly investing. You cannot work enough in this lifetime to build the wealth that you're going to need to pass on to your next 2 generations. And so we have to get comfortable in our communities about investing. And then we're going to talk about how you kind of got to check up on it, because building wealth doesn't just happen. We know that we are given power to get wealth, but in giving that power to get wealth, we have to check up on our progress along the way. And so those are some of the things that we're going to kind of talk about in general today as we have this conversation.
You mentioned at the beginning organizing your paperwork. When we first started working with people under the DFREE brand, what we discovered is that people couldn't even find their bills. People didn't know how much they owed. People were late. I mean, the second D in DFREE is delinquency. A lot of people pay their bills late because they're just not organized. So give us some high-level guidance on how to organize your financial paperwork.
So what it requires initially is to know, right? So get a system in place. When the mail is coming in, we use technology now, so you don't even, a lot of people are not even getting mail. They're getting online statements. But in any case, you're going to get a reminder that says your bill is ready or your statement is ready. And so set aside time each month for you to deal with your financial matters. And you shouldn't have to look at it every day. But I recommend personally at least twice a month, or center it around the time that you get paid. If you get paid once a month, then do it when you get paid. If you're biweekly, then do it the twice a month. But really getting organized, putting your paperwork somewhere where somebody will know what it is that you have if something were to happen to you. We have this document that we call our Life Stages Folio that we share with folk that just helps you pull together birth certificates, marriage certificates, all of that important work that you're going to need when you kind of start the process of organizing yourself. But organization is key, because to Dr. Soaries' point, some people don't even open their bill. They get it, they put it in a stack, don't know how much you owe, don't know when it is due, and when it is due and when you pay it may be different, right? But you at least need to know when the due date is, so that you don't incur any kind of late fees in that regard. And so you want to just really make sure that you get yourself organized and that you have the documents in a secure place. Your tax returns, your pay stubs, all of those things, you want to make sure you have them in a secure place. If you're keeping receipts, we recommend you keep your receipts at least to the end of the month. And then when you're settling up for the month to see how much money you've spent on certain things because you're trying to follow a budget, then we recommend that you keep those things until the end of the month. And then when you get ready to discard them, don't just put them in a trash can somewhere, shred them. Because there are still dumpster divers and people who are looking to gather your information to commit fraud using your information. So organization is key.
Folks, DFREE has a curriculum that includes 4 levels: get started, get control, get ahead, and give back, and then 3 steps in each level. And what you'll discover is that our curriculum, our program, our movement really aligns with these principles that are being taught by professionals. We are not financial professionals. I am a debtor saved by grace. I learned about money by being broke. But the process that you go through is not rocket science, and it's not high level. This is not sexy. It's not exciting. I know this doesn't give you a thrill on the front end, but once you get all of this done, your stress level will go down, your joy will go up, and your wealth will grow. So in DFREE, we recommend spending at least 7 minutes a day, which means opening your mail and reading it, basically. And every week in our DFREE community, we have something, Roz, that's called a money date. So every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, we play soft music and we invite people to kind of focus, meditate, and do something about their finances. And then we share with each other what kind of steps we've taken on our money date. We're trying to induce a sense and a spirit of discipline and focus. And it's pursuant to what you just said, getting our financial lives organized. Now, you did mention how much fear and trembling comes when you use the word budget. And I've talked to people that have said, I don't need a budget. Other people say, I don't have enough money to budget. So what do you mean by budgeting?
So basically that, Dr. Soaries, giving your money an assignment and telling your money what you want it to do for you to help you reach the goals and objectives that you have for yourself and your family. Money is fluid. It comes and it goes. And if you don't control it, it will get out of control. And so a budget helps you to track your spending. A budget really helps you to manage your debt. We teach that all debt is at least in my opinion, debt is bondage. And so you want to have as little debt as possible. However, all debt is not bad debt. So creating a budget helps you to know when it's a good time to create debt, when you shouldn't create debt. And having a budget helps you to curb those impulses, right? If you're following your budget, when you see something that, piques your interest, you'll think back, wait, I've got a budget. I need to make sure I'm following that budget. So maybe I don't buy this right now. Maybe I plan to go on vacation. Maybe I am being strategic in creating that debt reduction strategy. And I know that whatever money comes into my hand, because the goal is to eliminate the debt, it's got to go there. So creating a budget helps you to do all these things. It helps you to find ways to save. To your point earlier, I have folks that say, Roz, I don't make enough money to save. and I challenge them with a little scenario of a $5 cup of coffee. And I use the example of, if you buy a $5 cup of coffee 5 days a week, you spend $25 a week. It's 4 weeks in a month. You spend $100 a month buying coffee. It's 12 months in a year. You spend $1,200 a year buying coffee. Well, that same $5 can go into a savings account. So it is just that simple. And creating a budget will give you more control, and it does lessen the stress and the anxiety that comes with, as we like to say, robbing Peter to pay Paul. You don't have to do that when you create a budget.
So that whole perspective around $5 a day in coffee equaling $100 a week, that's a mentality. It's a different way to think, because $1,200 in a year is $12,000 in 10 years. $12,000 can pay 1 year tuition in a state college. So I just think, folks, this is about changing the way we think about money in order to change the way we manage money, the way we use money, the way we spend money. And it's not just what we spend, it's what we bring in. I had a staff person one time ask me for a raise, and what that person wanted was less than what they were already making, because they had not kept up with what their actual compensation was at the job. So talk about managing both income and expenses.
Which is real important when we're going to create this whole idea of wealth, right? You have to know how much money you're making. And when we ask you that question, a lot of times it's two different answers, because one thing is your salary, right? What they have promised to pay you, and that is the gross amount. So if they say we're going to pay you $50,000 a year, that's what they're going to pay you. But hopefully we've all lived long enough now to know that the $50,000 is not what's going to come into your hand, because there's going to be taxes. There possibly can be benefits that you are actually paying for. I pray to God that you're contributing something to your 401k. And so what you actually get into your hand is going to be less than that. So that's what you get to manage. And managing that's what a budget allows you to do. It allows you to kind of set some priorities and understand what your needs are. All of us have some needs that we all are going to have to deal with across our life journey. And then it helps you to say, well, what are the things that I enjoy doing, that I like doing, that I want to do? And so when you create a budget, it helps you to manage the income side. You should know what you're making, and you should know what money is coming in from all sources, right? If you're working, if you are getting some kind of passive income, if somebody just likes you a whole lot and they're just giving you money, that all should be put into your budget to manage, to help meet your goals and objectives. And certainly knowing what your expenses are, those must pay expenses. We've got to pay our mortgage. We've got to pay light bill, phone bill, those things that help us to live. And then those would like two kinds of things, right? The subscriptions and, all of that. You've got to get a handle on knowing where your money is coming in and where it's going out. And then it helps you to set the priorities for yourself and for your family. But managing money is necessary if you are going to create wealth.
So folks, Rosalyn Glenn is eminently qualified. She's taken courses, she's got certifications and licenses, but I promise you, she's teaching you my book, Say Yes to No Debt, has all of this in it. And that's why we make such good partnership, because what we teach from experience, they teach from expertise, and we work together to help people get started and really create wealth. Now, you can't create wealth in a day, but it's over time, which requires a strategy. We're trying to give you a strategy that's tried, tested, and proven to be true. And we're at the point now when I think we have to confess that the key to this is determining the difference between our wants and our needs. I think you called it like and like to. What there are things that we have to do. Those fixed expenses are bills. The things that we charge on our credit cards because we just like them, those aren't bills, that's debt. And you have to distinguish between bills and debt because bills will never go away, even though you can pay off your debt. And I just love the fact that your expertise aligns with our experience, and all of this sophisticated presentation is really just a high level way of saying be D free. So I
Right.
thank you for that. But in establishing our needs and our wants, it really rolls into priorities. And I think you want to talk about priorities and then how to manage good debt and bad debt.
Absolutely. We mentioned you touched on it a little bit. It's understanding what are the necessities, what we have to have, and these are things that all of us have to have. After you understand where your money is going, you've got to set the priorities. So if you want to, be a homeowner, you can be a homeowner. You can set priorities to get you there. If you enjoy traveling, you can travel. You just got to put that in your budget and be able to create that opportunity to be able to do that. And so setting the priorities is going to help you as you're trying to create an opportunity and understanding your cash flow. You've heard this, the adage is not really what you make, but it's what you keep, because we're trying to build the net worth, and setting priorities will help you to build your net worth. You got to eat, you have to pay the utilities, transportation, health care. We all need health care, and we know how expensive that is. Insurance, your property taxes, those things are going to keep coming. They shouldn't catch you off guard. It shouldn't catch you by surprise. So you should know when those things are and set the priorities to be able to take care of those, and then deal with some of the things you want. We enjoy traveling. We like to, go to basketball games and whatever those things you enjoy doing, but you've got to set the priorities and make sure that you are giving your money an assignment. This dollar goes to the mortgage. This dollar goes to saving. This dollar goes to buy me a pair of shoes, right? You give your money that assignment based on the priorities that you set for yourself. And Dr. Soaries, DFREE is so easy. I actually use this platform with my clients. Get involved with DFREE. It helps make my job easier, frankly, because there are tools and resources there to help them to get organized, to help them to understand how to manage debt, to help them to understand the insurance. And then I just, as to your point, kind of add on the icing on the cake, and give them the tools and the resources to do what they learn through your program.
Yeah, we decided early on that we did not want to be financial professionals. We did not want to be selling financial products. What DFREE's goal has always been is to motivate and educate people as to why and how they should connect with people like you. We didn't need more resources. What we needed was better strategies to connect our people with solutions. There are solutions. There are strategies. And that's why partnerships make sense, because we're not trying to be everything for anybody. We're just trying to do what we do and partner with people who do what they do. What we're going to do, Roz, by the way, is we're going to uh, create a two-part presentation from this presentation, because you've got so much content, and I'm sure people are taking notes, and they're focusing on some of these assignments, because a lot of what you're asking people to do requires going away, shutting things down, writing things down, finding paperwork. And I want to make sure they get a lot of time to absorb and to digest and then act on all of your information. So we're going to continue, but I just want you to know, folks, this is part one of Rosalyn Glenn. She is a financial professional at Prudential who specializes in financial planning. She's the national treasurer for Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and she's my friend and partner as we help people who need a strategy to get financially where they want to go. So you've talked about priorities, and DFREE starts with debt. Our goal is for everyone to be debt free except for the debt that contributes towards creating wealth. However, it doesn't happen overnight. So could you
Right.
help people understand that when we talk about being debt free, there are things you can do. There's a process of managing debt and maintaining good credit and moving from being strapped with debt and being free from debt.
Absolutely. So, my dad, when I was growing up, he used to tell us, keep your credit good because, credit can get you something when you don't have the money to do it, right? And he's a person that is averse to debt. You get
Right.
as little debt as possible. However, we have to be able to manage debt in a way that is beneficial to us. I've learned to leverage other people's money, use debt, to be able to manage my own personal resources. For instance, I do use my credit card to pay all of my bills during the month. And then I pay the credit card off before it's time to pay the interest, so no interest is charged. Now, that requires a high level of discipline to be able to
Right.
do that. And so if you're disciplined, then you do that. But managing debt and understanding how to get rid of it, you've got to have a plan before you get into debt. You need to have a plan of how you're going to pay that debt off quicker, even though they may give you 36 months, 48
Right.
months, 60 months. You set a plan to pay it off earlier if your income allows for you to do that. That is the managing part of debt, making sure that you are looking at the interest rates that are being charged. It's not just about I'm going to buy a car and I want my car payment to be $400, right? You'll get a car payment that's $400. They'll stretch it out for 8 years and then
Right.
charge you 40% interest on it, right? So you've got to pay attention to all of that. You can look at consolidating debt. Consolidation can be a good thing. It also can be a bad thing because consolidating debt can increase the amount of money that you're paying out on a month-to-month basis, whereas you might have 4 credit cards that you're paying $25 a month on. That's $100. If you consolidate that debt, it could go up to $160 a month. So you've really got to be intentional about looking at paying attention to and organizing yourself so that you can manage that in a way. And I tell people the best way to get out of debt is not to create any, right? So, be intentional about how you are managing debt, and look at your credit cards. Look at reducing the interest rates. I was working with a client earlier or late last week, looking at her credit cards. She did not have a single credit card that had an interest rate less than 29.99% interest. And you think about that's a lot of money to be paying out. And if you're just paying the minimum payments, it's hard to get
Right.
out of that. So that's how, when we say manage debt, maintaining good credit, your credit is important. It is very important. It dictates your insurance premiums. They're going to pull your credit and look and see what your credit is and decide how much you're going to pay on your car insurance. If you're looking to rent someplace, they're going to pull your credit and determine how much of a security deposit you've got to pay down based on your credit. And so you want to make sure you're maintaining good credit at all time. And no matter where you are now, know that it is fixable. You can get to a better place, maybe not overnight, but you can absolutely get to a better place if you do the work to get there.
Yeah, thank you for that, Roz. I really appreciate doing that. You doing that deep dive into debt because it's more than just getting a credit card and paying the bills on time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Most people don't know what interest is, and if you're paying 29% interest, that means that for every dollar you use on your credit card, if you don't pay it off right away, as Roz said, you're paying $1.29 back. For $100, it's $29, and that just the interest, the money we spend in interest, could be used to save and invest in. And we're going to talk about saving and investing in a few minutes. Listen, folks, we've been talking to Roz Glenn about organizing our financial paperwork, about creating a budget, about managing debt. As a financial planner, she has more answers than we have questions, believe me. But if you do have a question, you can type it in the comments section. And we have people that are here right now answering questions. And so just ask the question. And if we need to refer you to someone, we'll do that. If you need help, if you need help with a financial matter, it could be investing, it could be insurance. Perhaps you had a term life insurance policy. We'll talk about insurance later. And the term is about to run out and you need to know what your options are. Please let us know. You can put comments in to the chat and you can go to dfree.com/get help and we will connect you to people like Roz, perhaps not exactly as smart as Roz, but certainly as on paper as qualified as Roz. And this is part one of getting your financial house in order. And we're going to continue today with a few more topics, and then we'll come back next week to finish up with Roz because she's like a walking encyclopedia of financial information. Now, let's talk about saving. I was in China with a young tour guide. She was 29 years old, and her father required that a certain amount of her income go into savings. I couldn't believe it. A grown person who was still under the tutelage of her father. We have a savings challenge just in America. We don't save at the rate that we should save. Most of us have insufficient funds saved for retirement. How do we just get started saving? Where does it really start?
I tell people often it's $1 at a time, right? $1 at a time. And we have to stop convincing ourselves that we don't have money to save. I used the example earlier of just that simple $5, but we all need to have money saved. We need to have an emergency fund. I'm more conservative than most, so I like to recommend that fund to be anywhere from 3 to 6 months worth of your monthly living expenses. And so if you got $2,000, then you should have $6,000 to $12,000 in an emergency savings. You should make sure that you have enough money to put some protection solutions in places. And when we say protection solutions, we're talking about life insurance, which we'll talk a little bit more in depth about. But planning and organizing, if you want to buy a home, if you need to buy a car, certainly you got to be planning for retirement because that day is going to come. And the earlier you do that, even if you decide not to retire early, you can and be comfortable doing that. And certainly knowing, the roles have changed in terms of, caring for family, right? Our parents cared for us. And now for me, the role is changing because my dad is 81 years old. And so it's shifting, right? And so you have to make a commitment to save. Again, tell your money what you want it to do for you. At least a couple of those dollars that you bring in every month, you need to tell. You are going into a savings account. And listen, I don't mean just having it diverted to a savings account and then you go back, it goes in on Friday and you go in on Monday and pull it out. That is not saving, right? I'm saying let it go into account where it's off your radar. You're not even thinking about it. The way you do your 401ks or your 403bs or TSPs, right? You just let that money go. You don't think about it. One day you look up and you've got a significant amount of money in that account. But saving is necessary if we're going to build wealth. And in this wealth lab that we're in, you absolutely have to save money if you're going to be able to build wealth and support yourself and your family for the long term, right? Because life is going to happen. The refrigerator is going to break down. The tire is going to blow. The kids are going to get sick. You may get laid off from your job. It happens. And so you've got to have a plan, a contingent plan to be able to account for those things, and saving and having that little nest egg, that cushion. I promise you it'll help you sleep much better at night when you have that in place.
Raj, you're exactly right. One of the largest companies in the world, I won't name it, but all of us know the name when we mention it, has laid off 30,000 people in the last 6 months. 30,000 people. And not just the little people. The last wave of layoffs was executives, managers. They're trying to shrink their bureaucracy. And so no one's safe. And the safety net that all of us need has to come from ourselves, from our own savings. And it's a mentality. Again, start with $1 a week, start with $5 a month, but you got to start and get money into a place that you're not going to dip into right away. The commitment to save is a mental, emotional, spiritual, and financial commitment. But more specifically, once you make that commitment, Roz, what kinds of specific things can we think about doing? And do you recommend that we actually execute on from a savings perspective?
You know what, Dr. Soaries, it really is a mindset, right? It absolutely is a mindset. And you've got to make up your mind that you're going to do that no matter what. And that's where the commitment comes from. The commitment to, first of all, being a good steward and being accountable with the resources that you have. And then once you make the commitment, then you can put some strategies in place. Do it automatically where you're not even thinking about it. So let it come directly from your check going into that savings account. Set some goals for what you need for the short term. And we're talking maybe, 1 to 3 months, and then the long term or the midterm, 4 to 6 months, and then the long term, 7 to 12 months or whatever. And if you're thinking of it in terms of years, it's the same, 1 to 3 years, 4 to 6 years, 7 to 10 years, right? However you're thinking about it, you've got to make a commitment to do that. Use the resources that are available to you. One of the things that I know that we don't take advantage of a lot of times are the resources that our companies offer to us as benefits. Look at those benefits and see what you can take advantage of that's going to help you save money. And then, as we like to say, I call it a side hustle. Some things you just enjoy doing. I have a client that she enjoyed baking, and she was doing that just because she enjoyed it. And after conversation with her, we've turned that into a quite lucrative little income source for her each month, where she's up to now about $500 a month doing something she enjoys doing, which is
Right.
baking, right? And so turning those little things you enjoy doing into income producing things that can help you then to lessen your or increase your income. And then understanding, setting I tell people you got to set your withholdings proper, right? We like the idea. It's tax time. Everybody getting ready for these big tax refunds. And what I remind them is you let the government hold your money all year long rather than setting your tax withholdings proper, being able to get that money during the year. The key is not to owe them and for them not to owe you. But if you can set it so that you're getting your money and you're using it for yourself and your family throughout the year. So when you're making the commitment, these are the things that you're looking at to put in place to make sure that you're managing, you're in control. You have to be in control of your money at all times, and all of it in all ways, right? And so make the commitment, which is what's required first, having a mental change of your mind that I am going to be wealthy. And I am going to do the simple things that people that build wealth do. Because, Dr. Soaries, you said it earlier, it is not rocket science. It is discipline and action and intentionality and telling your money what you want it to do for you so that it can create the outcomes that you want for yourself and your family.
Yeah, Raj, you said it best earlier. We do not work our way to wealth. We work to survive, but we invest to create wealth. And investing starts with saving. In my newest version of the book, I've got three versions of my DFREE book now. The first one was called DFREE Breaking Free from Financial Slavery. And it was focused so heavily on debt as slavery. And then we updated that book in 2015, changed the name to Say Yes to No Debt. It was a little more palatable, and it didn't beat people over the head as much as the first one did. And now the third version is the second version of Say Yes to No Debt. And in this version, it just came out a couple of months ago. I spend a lot of time focusing on how to increase your income because, to your point, there are people that have hobbies that can generate income. There are people who have skills. My grandmother made the best sweet potato pie in the Northeast, and she sold those pies to help her pastor raise money to build a new church. So we've known how to do this in our community. We just haven't done it as consistently as we should towards wealth building strategies. So that's the commitment. And listen, people will pay you to walk their dogs. People will pay you to wash their houses while they're on vacation. So when you feel that you don't have sufficient income to save, increase your income. And you'd be surprised to know how quickly income really turns into wealth, which really comes to the end of part one of our time together, Roz, and that is the whole concept of paying yourself first. You hear this said all the time. Preachers say it from the pulpit, speakers say it, experts say it from the microphone. But what does that really look like? What does it really mean to pay ourselves first? And what kind of projections can we make if we embrace that behavior?
Dr. Soaries, I have a personal principle that I live by and have lived by for a very long time. I tithe 10%, I save 10%, and I live off of the 80%. And so that to me is that principle of paying yourself first. That's simple. Now, here is the example that we show that when you pay yourself first, kind of what can happen, right? We can set up the direct deposits and the things going and making sure that you are putting that in an interest bearing account. Can't just be sitting in your checking account. Can't just be sitting in an account that's earning 0.02% interest. You've got to be looking at some kind of high yield savings of where you're putting that money. But in this example, if you save $25, $75, or $125 a week, and it was earning interest at a rate of 4%, you see in 25 years how much money you would actually have. And so that is the principle of paying yourself first, putting you at the top of your list and making sure you set that money aside. Back to the organization and being intentional about telling your money what you want it to do for you. But this is a simple principle. Pay yourself first. You are your most important asset. And so you should set aside money to build the wealth that you want to achieve for yourself and your family.
Yeah, this is so good because, again, it's a discipline, it's a strategy, and pay yourself first has functioned kind of as a slogan, but if we put the slogan to work, it really does pay off. And I think what you revealed was what can happen after 25 years at a 4% rate of return. The stock market has rarely done worse than 4% or has even done 4%. I mean, most people who project stock market growth project around 7 to 8%. So 4% is very conservative. And if you don't understand what your options are, what your possibilities are, just go to dfree.com/get help, and we'll connect you with either Rosalyn or someone like Rosalyn who can sit down and show you the math. These are small numbers. These are not numbers that reflect what you could do with a percentage of your income. These are just basic numbers. Again, it goes back to a cup of coffee at Starbucks. If you drink Dunkin' Donuts coffee, you're cutting your coffee bill in half automatically. So listen, this is DFREE Wealth Lab. This is brand new for 2026. We started with Rosalyn Glenn, financial planner from Prudential, who represents not only Prudential, but this special initiative called Blueprints to Black Wealth, which is a partner with DFREE. And she's also the national treasurer of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And we're answering questions. Put your questions in the comments. We'll either answer you right away or we'll send your question to someone who has the answer and they'll get back to you. If you need help, get help now. Don't sit and wait and suffer. This is the end of part one of Is Your Financial House in Order? And next week, we're going to come back with Roz and we're going to do part two. But thank you. Stay in touch. Go to DFREE.com. Join the DFREE community. It's free. And interact with all of those persons that are attempting to contribute to each other, creating wealth for themselves and their families. My name is DeForest B. Soaries Jr. My friends call me Buster. My enemies do too. And thank you for joining us. And we'll be back next week, same time, same place for part two with Rosalyn Glenn.